Hollow Knight takes place in a fantasy world full of many mysterious forces and powers. In this video, I'll be detailing each different natural and magical element that is present in the Hollow Knight world, as well as how it manifests. One of the most prevalent forces is that of soul. It is said to animate the bodies of Hallownest creatures and takes the form of white particles. It goes from creatures' bodies into the air when they are struck with weapons or they die. Soul can be manipulated and focused into different forms and used to achieve different feats. It can be used to heal wounds and can be concentrated into powerful spells. It seems that only higher beings and their offspring have the natural ability to gather and focus soul, but other beings can find ways to do it artificially, such as the snail shamans and the scholars of the Soul Sanctum. It is not known where exactly soul originates from, only that creatures are born with it and that it can be generated from charms such as the King's Soul. A sort of counterpart to soul is void. It usually takes the form of black particles in the air, like how soul appears as white particles, but it can also exist in liquid or solid form. Void seems to be a sort of animating force akin to soul, but only more volatile. Like soul, it can be made into spells and attacks. Void on its own is a living substance with a sort of collective consciousness that can be unified by the bearer of the Void Heart. This substance is described as living darkness, but also of emptiness itself given form. Void can also move through solid objects, and it seems to naturally oppose forces of light. Speaking of light, it's another element. Light can take on many different forms that could possibly be considered elements of their own. For one thing, light can take the form of essence, which dreams are made of. Light can also be found in the crystals that grow naturally in Crystal Peak. Two higher beings have to do with light, the Pale King and the Radiance. The Pale King's light is described as a beacon that expands the minds of bugs within its sphere of influence. Rather than simply giving off a light, the Radiance herself is made of light. As opposed to the Pale King's light, hers is much more potent in the effects it has on bugs' minds, capable of taking over their will completely. The Radiance's power takes on a physical form as the infection, seen as bright blobs of orange liquid, creatures like light seeds and infected balloons, and a noxious orange gas. The physical form of the Radiance's infection is comparable to the force of Lifeblood. It too forms into a gel-like liquid and grows on vine-like structures. Lifeblood is able to be harmlessly consumed though, and will protect the consumer's outer shell from damage to a certain degree. Lifeblood can be found inside of life seeds, which cluster together in lifeblood cocoons. All lifeblood seems to originate from the mysterious being known as the Abyss Creature. On the topic of things that grow, that brings us to plants. Plant growth is able to be manipulated by two beings, Un and the White Lady. Un used the power of her mind to create the plants and inhabitants of Greenpath, while the White Lady is implied to be capable of creating flowers such as the ones found throughout the Queen's Gardens. For the creatures of Greenpath, plants seem to be a sort of life force to them, one that they would be weakened or even die without. Another naturally growing substance is spores. It created the environment of the fungal wastes and the mushroom clan who live there. Through the power of spores, they all have a collective mind and a language that can be understood by anyone with some connection to spore power, such as the Spore Shroom charm. Spores can be used lethally by creatures such as Shroomal warriors and fungoons. Other substances are similarly related to particular species. The bees are able to manipulate the power of nectar, molding it into structures inside the hive. It also takes the form of the Hive Blood charm, which is described as using nectar to heal wounds. The bees share a hive mind not unlike that of the mushroom clan, and the bees' shared power of nectar may have something to do with theirs. Able to be manipulated by the spider tribe and the weavers is the element of silk. It seems to be produced naturally by these creatures and can be woven into living structures, webs, attacks, and even magical seals. It can also bind wounds. When not in use, silk can be stored on spools, probably similar to the way that soul can be stored in jars or soul totems. Finally, the members of the Grim Troop can manipulate the power of flame manifested from nightmares. Like dream essence, this flame manifests in the dream realm, specifically the divided off section of it known as the nightmare realm. The flame naturally spawns in places such as fallen kingdoms, and can be harvested by the troop to ultimately be fed to the nightmare's heart in order to sustain it. So what do you think? Which elemental power in the Hollow Knight universe do you find most interesting, and why? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. I'd recommend checking out the other ones on my channel as well. I hope you're having a good day, and I'll see you next time.